The unwanted gift. The massive Confederacy vessel Prosperity's End cast its shadow across the Pacific Ocean as it prepared to make another deposit. Commander Elena Vasquez stood on the deck of the salvage platform New Horizon, watching through reinforced glass as the alien ship's cargo bay doors slowly opened. In 12 hours, thousands of tons of what the Galactic Confederacy called obsolete materials would rain down into the designated dumping zone, and her team would begin the backbreaking work of sorting through it all. Elena adjusted her weather-beaten cap and turned to address the man beside her. Dr. Kai. Chen looked more like a university professor than someone who spent his days crawling through alien scrap metal. But his analytical mind had proven invaluable in identifying useful technology among the debris. Behind them, Marcus Thompson was already directing the crane operators, his powerful frame and booming voice cutting through the ocean wind as he prepared the recovery equipment. "Another day, another mountain of cosmic garbage," Marcus called out, his tone carrying the bitter humor that had become common among the salvage crews. The former Marine had volunteered for this assignment after Earth's first contact with the Confederacy had gone so poorly. Like many military personnel, he'd hoped to serve his planet in battle against alien invaders. Instead, he found himself managing what the aliens generously called technology redistribution. The Confederacy had arrived 3 years ago with promises of bringing humanity into the galactic community. They'd evaluated Earth's technology, resources, and population, then delivered their verdict with clinical efficiency. Humans were classified as a Class C species, suitable for basic labor and waste management, but lacking the sophistication required for full membership in galactic civilization. The assignment was simple. Earth would serve as a processing center for outdated alien technology, breaking it down for raw materials and recycling what components remained functional. Elena had been a decorated military engineer before first contact, specializing in adaptive battlefield repairs and improvised solutions. Now she commanded a fleet of salvage vessels, officially tasked with managing the Confederacy's garbage disposal operation. What the aliens didn't know was that Elena had been quietly studying every piece of technology that passed through their hands, building a comprehensive database of Confederacy capabilities and weaknesses. The first wave of debris began falling from the alien ship's cargo hold, massive chunks of twisted metal and crystalline components tumbling through the atmosphere before splashing into the ocean around them. Elena's crews immediately went to work, their salvage vessels spreading out across the designated zone like hungry seabirds diving for fish. The process was well rehearsed by now, each team member knowing their role in the complex ballet of recovery operations. Dr. Chen activated his analysis equipment, sophisticated scanners that he'd built from a combination of Earth technology and salvaged alien components. The devices could identify energy signatures, material compositions, and technological functions even in heavily damaged equipment. Over the past year, he'd developed an almost supernatural ability to spot valuable technology hidden among the genuine scrap. "Elena, look at this!" Chen called out, his voice tight with excitement. He was studying a readout from one of the larger debris clusters, his fingers dancing across the control interface. "I'm reading intact power coupling systems in that section, and what looks like a partially functional gravity manipulator. The energy signature is unlike anything we've seen before." Elena moved to look over his shoulder, studying the complex energy patterns displayed on his screen. Her engineering background helped her understand what she was seeing, even if the underlying technology was beyond current human comprehension. The gravity manipulator alone would be worth months of study, potentially revealing secrets that could revolutionize Earth's approach to space travel. "Marcus, redirect Recovery Team 3 to that cluster," she ordered, pointing to the debris field Chen had identified. "Priority salvage and make sure they use the heavy-duty containment units. If that gravity manipulator is still partially active, we don't want any accidents." The recovery operation continued for hours, with Elena's teams carefully extracting the most promising pieces of technology from the ocean. The Confederacy's waste disposal schedule was precise and predictable, giving them exactly 6 hours to complete their work before the next alien patrol would arrive to monitor their progress. It was a delicate balance between appearing to fulfill their assigned role as waste processors while secretly identifying and preserving the most valuable components. As the sun began to set, Elena called her senior staff together in the platform's main conference room. The space was cramped and functional, dominated by a large table covered with data tablets and analysis reports. Dr. Chen had spread out detailed scans of the day's most significant discoveries, while Marcus reviewed the logistical challenges of transporting and storing the recovered technology. "What's our assessment, Kai?" Elena asked, settling into her chair and accepting a cup of coffee from one of the junior technicians. Chen pulled up a holographic display showing the internal structure of one of the recovered devices. "This is remarkable, Elena. The Confederacy classified this as obsolete technology, but it's actually more advanced than anything we've seen before. The power coupling system uses a crystalline matrix that can channel energy at efficiency levels we can barely measure, and the gravity manipulator employs principles of space-time distortion that our physicists are still trying to understand." "Why would they throw away something so advanced?" Marcus asked, studying the hologram with a soldier's practical eye for useful equipment. "Because they're perfectionists," Elena replied, a note of satisfaction in her voice. "The Confederacy's entire approach to technology is based on absolute precision and standardization. If a device doesn't meet their exact specifications, if it shows even minor damage or deviation from the original design parameters, they discard it as worthless. They can't conceive of anyone being able to repair or modify their technology." Andy nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly. Their engineering philosophy is based on replacement rather than adaptation. When something breaks, they build a new one from scratch rather than attempting repairs. But humans have always been adapters and improvisers. We've been making do with broken equipment and limited resources for our entire history." Elena stood and walked to the large window overlooking the salvage operations. In the distance, another Confederacy ship was approaching, its sleek hull gleaming in the twilight. The vessel would monitor their work for exactly 37 minutes, record their progress for the administrative databases, then depart for the next waste disposal site. The routine had become so predictable that her teams could practically set their watches by it. "I've been thinking about our long-term strategy," she said, not turning away from the window. "We've been collecting and studying their technology for 3 years now. We understand their capabilities, their blind spots, and their weaknesses, but we've been thinking too small." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "We've been trying to understand their individual components, to reverse engineer specific devices and systems. But what if we approach this differently? What if, instead of trying to copy their technology, we use their components to build something entirely new, something that combines their advanced materials and energy systems with human ingenuity and adaptability?" Chen's eyes lit up with understanding. "You're talking about hybrid technology, using their components as building blocks for uniquely human designs." "Exactly," Elena said, finally turning back to face her team. "The Confederacy's greatest strength is also their greatest weakness. They think in terms of absolute standards and perfect specifications. They can't imagine anyone taking their discarded technology and turning it into something they've never seen before." Marcus leaned forward, his combat experience making him think in terms of strategic advantages. "What kind of something are we talking about here? A weapon? A ship?" Elena smiled, the expression carrying both determination and a hint of something that might have been anticipation. "I'm talking about building something that will make the Confederacy realize they made a serious mistake when they classified humanity as a Class C species. Something that will demonstrate that human creativity and adaptability are forces they never accounted for in their precise calculations." The room fell silent as the implications of her words sank in. They were no longer just talking about salvage operations and technology analysis. They were talking about building something that could change humanity's position in the galactic community, something that could prove that Earth deserved better than serving as the Confederacy's garbage disposal service. Over the following weeks, Elena's team began implementing what they privately called Project Synthesis. Using their detailed knowledge of Confederacy technology and their growing stockpile of salvaged components, they began designing something unprecedented, a hybrid vessel that would combine alien technology with human engineering principles. The design process was unlike anything any of them had ever attempted. Chen worked on integrating Confederacy power systems with human-designed energy distribution networks, creating redundant pathways that could adapt to damage or changing conditions. Marcus focused on the mechanical systems, designing modular components that could be easily repaired or modified using Earth-based manufacturing techniques. Elena coordinated the overall project while maintaining the facade of their official salvage operations. The Confederacy's monitoring protocols were thorough but predictable, and her teams had become expert at hiding their most important work during the brief inspection periods. To any casual observer, they appeared to be conscientiously breaking down alien technology for raw materials, exactly as their assignment required. The breakthrough came when Chen discovered that Confederacy crystalline matrices could be modified, using human-developed quantum field generators. The aliens had never attempted such modifications because their engineering philosophy discouraged experimentation with standardized components. But the combination created energy coupling systems that were not only more efficient than the original designs, but also far more resilient to damage and environmental variations. "This changes everything," Chen explained to Elena as they reviewed the test results. "We're not just repairing their technology anymore. We're improving it, creating hybrid systems that perform better than either the human or alien components could achieve alone." As the months passed, their hybrid designs became increasingly sophisticated. They developed armor plating that combined Confederacy energy-resistant materials with human-designed shock absorption systems. Their weapon concepts integrated alien plasma generation technology with human-developed targeting and guidance systems that could adapt to enemy countermeasures in real time. But the most significant breakthrough came when they realized that their hybrid approach could be applied to an entire vessel. Elena's team began designing a ship that would be unlike anything in the Confederacy's experience. A vessel that combined the raw power of alien technology with the adaptability and resilience that had allowed humanity to survive and thrive on a dangerous planet. The ship would be living proof that the Confederacy had underestimated humanity. It would demonstrate that creativity and adaptability were not signs of primitive thinking, but rather the keys to evolution and progress. And when the time came to reveal their creation to the galaxy, it would announce that Earth was no longer content to serve as anyone's garbage collector. Elena stood once again at the window of the salvage platform, watching as another load of obsolete Confederacy technology fell from the sky. But now she saw it differently. Each piece of discarded equipment was not waste to be processed, but raw material for humanity's greatest project. The aliens thought they were giving Earth their garbage, but they were actually providing the components for their own surprise. The Galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to take whatever the universe threw at them and turn it into something amazing. And the Confederacy, in their arrogance and short-sightedness, had just given them everything they needed to prove it. The Phoenix Rising 8. Months after Project Synthesis began, the Australian outback held a secret that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of human capability. Hidden beneath the red earth and endless sky, a massive underground facility buzzed with activity that would have astounded the Confederacy's most experienced engineers. The ship taking shape in the cavernous assembly bay bore little resemblance to the sleek, standardized vessels that dominated galactic shipping lanes. Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck, watching as hundreds of technicians and engineers worked around the clock to complete what they had named the Defiance. The vessel's hull was a patchwork of materials that told the story of human ingenuity, combining salvaged Confederacy armor plating with Earth-manufactured structural supports, arranged in patterns that prioritized adaptability over aesthetic perfection. Where alien ships sought perfect symmetry, the Defiance embraced functional asymmetry, with weapon systems and sensor arrays positioned for maximum effectiveness rather than visual harmony. Final systems integration is proceeding ahead of schedule, reported Captain Riley Stone, the former Air Force pilot who would command the Defiance on its maiden voyage. Stone had been hand-picked for the assignment based on her exceptional ability to think tactically under pressure and her experience adapting to rapidly changing battlefield conditions. Dr. Chen's hybrid power systems are performing at 127% of projected efficiency, and Marcus's modular weapon platforms are ready for live fire testing. Elena nodded, her attention focused on the massive engines that would propel their creation through space. The propulsion system was perhaps their most audacious modification, combining Confederacy gravity manipulation technology with human-developed thrust vectoring systems. The result was a drive system that could not only achieve faster-than-light travel, but could also change direction and acceleration patterns in ways that would confuse enemy targeting systems. Dr. Chen emerged from beneath one of the engine housings, his clothes stained with lubricants and his face bearing the satisfied expression of someone who had just solved a particularly challenging problem. "The quantum resonance chambers are fully synchronized," he announced, wiping his hands on a rag. "We're ready to begin full power testing whenever you give the word." The past months had transformed Chen from a theoretical physicist into a hands-on engineer who understood both the elegant mathematics of Confederacy technology and the practical realities of making it work under combat conditions. His hybrid systems didn't just combine human and alien technology. They created something entirely new, systems that could learn and adapt in real time to whatever challenges they faced. Marcus Thompson supervised the final installation of the Aqua, Defiance's most innovative feature, a modular weapons system that could be reconfigured during battle. Unlike Confederacy ships, which carried standardized weapon loadouts designed for specific types of engagement, the Defiance could adapt its armament to match whatever threat it encountered. Plasma cannons could be quickly swapped for kinetic projectile systems, defensive shields could be converted to offensive energy beams, and the entire weapons configuration could be changed in less than 3 minutes. The beauty of this system, Marcus explained to a group of weapons technicians, is that it doesn't rely on having the perfect weapon for every situation. Instead, it gives us the ability to become whatever kind of threat our enemies are least prepared to handle. The Confederacy trains their crews to respond to predictable attack patterns. We're going to give them something they've never seen before. The Defiance's bridge was a masterpiece of human-centered design philosophy. Where Confederacy vessels relied almost entirely on automated systems, the human ship placed its crew at the center of every decision. Manual override controls were positioned within easy reach of every station, allowing human operators to take direct control of any system at a moment's notice. The command interfaces were designed to provide maximum information while remaining intuitive enough for rapid decision-making under stress. Elena had insisted on this approach despite the objections of some team members who argued that automated systems would be more efficient. "Efficiency isn't our advantage," she had explained during one heated design meeting. "Adaptability is. A computer can process information faster than a human, but it can't improvise solutions to problems it wasn't programmed to handle. When we encounter something unexpected, our human crews will be able to respond in ways that no AI system could anticipate." The moment of truth arrived during a routine Confederacy inspection that threatened to expose their entire operation. Overseer Zixathara, a high-ranking Confederacy official known for her thorough examinations of waste processing facilities, had announced an unscheduled visit to evaluate Earth's compliance with Galactic waste management protocols. Elena met the alien delegation at the surface facility, maintaining the carefully constructed facade of a conscientious waste processing operation. The official salvage report showed steady progress in breaking down alien technology for raw materials, with efficiency ratings that satisfied Confederacy standards without being impressive enough to draw unwanted attention. "Your operation appears to be functioning within acceptable parameters," Zixthera observed, her 4 eyes scanning the data tablets with mechanical precision. The Confederacy official stood nearly 3 meters tall, her crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the harsh Australian sunlight as she toured the surface installations. "Though I note that your processing rates remain significantly below optimal levels. Perhaps additional automation would improve your efficiency." "We're working with the resources available to us," Elena replied diplomatically, knowing that any request for additional equipment would result in closer scrutiny of their operations. "Human workers may be slower than automated systems, but we're thorough in our processing procedures." The inspection proceeded according to plan, with Zixothera observing the carefully choreographed demonstration of primitive human technology struggling to process advanced alien components. What the Confederacy official couldn't see was the sophisticated analysis equipment hidden beneath the surface operations, or the teams of engineers who were simultaneously working on final preparations for the Defiance's first test flight. The deception might have succeeded completely if not for an unexpected emergency that arrived in the form of a distress signal from Kepler Station, one of humanity's first orbital mining operations. The message was brief and desperate. Attack by unknown vessels, requesting immediate assistance, situation critical. Admiral Sarah Cross, commander of Earth's Defense Force, convened an emergency meeting with Elena's team. The aging military officer had been skeptical of Project Synthesis from the beginning, preferring conventional approaches to planetary defense. But the crisis at Kepler Station had changed the strategic equation entirely. Our conventional forces are 3 days away from the Kepler system, Cross explained, her weathered face grim with the weight of command decisions. The attacking ships are using technology we don't recognize, but preliminary reports suggest they're slave traders operating outside Confederacy space. If we don't respond immediately, we'll lose not just the mining operation but potentially hundreds of civilian workers. Elena exchanged glances with her team members, seeing the same thought reflected in their expressions. The Defiance was ready for its first mission, but deploying an untested vessel against unknown enemies would be an enormous risk. If their hybrid technology failed under combat conditions, they would lose not only the ship, but also the accumulated knowledge of 3 years of intensive research and development. The Defiance could reach Kepler Station in 18 hours, Captain Stone reported, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was proposing. Our hybrid drive systems will give us a significant speed advantage over conventional vessels, and our adaptive weapons should be effective against any technology we're likely to encounter. Dr. Chen added his analysis to the discussion. The ship's systems have performed flawlessly in all our simulations. The hybrid technology is specifically designed to handle unexpected situations and unknown threats. If there was ever a time to test our capabilities, this would be it. Marcus nodded his agreement. Our people are counting on us. We built this ship to protect Earth and demonstrate human capabilities. If we're not willing to use it when lives are on the line, then what was the point of building it? Admiral Cross studied the faces around the conference table, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. The decision would effectively announce to the galaxy that Earth possessed capabilities far beyond what the Confederacy had assessed. Once the Defiance engaged enemy forces, there would be no hiding the fact that humanity had developed hybrid technology. Very well, she said finally. Captain Stone, you're authorized to deploy the Defiance to the Kepler system. Your mission is to neutralize the hostile forces and protect our civilian personnel. Secondary objectives include gathering intelligence on the attacking vessels and demonstrating the effectiveness of our new capabilities. The launch sequence began immediately, with the Defiance rising from its underground hangar into the star-filled sky above Australia. The ship's hybrid engines engaged with a low humming sound that seemed to resonate through the hull itself, creating a sensation that Stone described as like riding inside a living creature rather than a machine. The journey to Kepler Station became humanity's first real test of their hybrid technology under operational conditions. The Defiance's adaptive systems continuously monitored and adjusted every aspect of the ship's performance, optimizing power, distribution, navigation calculations, and weapon systems in real time. The crew found themselves working in partnership with technology that seemed to anticipate their needs and respond to their decisions. It's like flying a ship that's actually thinking, Stone reported to Elena during one of their scheduled communications. The hybrid systems aren't just following programmed responses. They're learning from our actions and adapting to our command style. I've never experienced anything like it. When the Defiance finally arrived at Kepler Station, the crew found themselves facing a fleet of vessels unlike anything in the Confederacy databases. The attacking ships were crude but effective, employing brute force tactics and overwhelming firepower to subdue their targets. The slave traders had clearly not expected any significant resistance from what they assumed would be a lightly defended human outpost. The battle that followed would become legendary in the annals of human space warfare. The Defiance didn't engage the enemy fleet with conventional tactics or predictable attack patterns. Instead, it became something that changed, constantly adapting its approach based on enemy responses and battlefield conditions. Captain Stone's crew used their modular weapon systems to devastating effect, reconfiguring their armament between engagements to counter whatever defensive measures the enemy employed. When the slave traders deployed energy shields, the Defiance switched to kinetic projectiles. When they adapted to kinetic attacks, the human ship began using plasma beams that could change frequency and intensity mid-flight. The hybrid engines proved equally effective, allowing the Defiance to execute maneuvers that violated every principle of conventional space combat. The ship could accelerate in one direction while simultaneously changing its orientation, creating attack vectors that enemy gunners couldn't predict or counter. It could stop and reverse course in seconds, turning pursuit situations into ambush opportunities. But perhaps most importantly, the Defiance demonstrated the effectiveness of human adaptability in space combat. While the enemy ships followed predictable patterns based on their programmed tactics, the human crew continuously developed new strategies based on real-time battlefield observations. They turned the slave traders' own weapons against them, used debris from damaged ships as improvised projectiles, and coordinated their attacks in ways that maximized confusion and minimized their own exposure to enemy fire. The battle ended with the complete destruction of the slave trading fleet and the rescue of all civilian personnel from Kepler Station. But the engagement's true significance lay in what it revealed about human capabilities. The galaxy's intelligence networks quickly disseminated reports of the mysterious human vessel that had appeared seemingly from nowhere and devastated a fleet of experienced raiders using tactics that no computer could have calculated. The Confederacy's response was swift and decisive. Within hours of receiving the battle reports, Overseer Zixathera was demanding a full investigation into Earth's technological capabilities. The careful facade of primitive waste processing operations had been shattered by the Defiance's spectacular combat debut. Elena received the formal inquiry with a sense of satisfaction that she carefully kept hidden during her recorded response to the Confederacy officials. The vessel you're asking about was constructed using materials and components provided through your own waste redistribution program, she explained with diplomatic precision. We followed all established protocols for processing obsolete technology, and we fully complied with our classification as a Class C species. What she didn't mention was that compliance with their classification had never prevented them from being creative with the resources they'd been given. The Confederacy had provided the raw materials, but human ingenuity had transformed those materials into something the galaxy had never seen before. The Defiance returned to Earth as a symbol of humanity's potential, but it was only the beginning. Elena's teams were already at work on improved designs, incorporating lessons learned from the Kepler Station engagement and developing new hybrid technologies based on their expanding understanding of both human and alien capabilities. The galaxy had noticed Earth, and the attention was no longer condescending. The Confederacy's careful calculations and species classifications had been proven incomplete by a ship built from their own discarded technology. Humanity had announced its arrival on the galactic stage not with diplomacy or negotiation, but with a demonstration of what could be achieved when human creativity was given the tools it needed to flourish. The age of Earth serving as the galaxy's garbage collector was over. The age of humanity as a force to be reckoned with had begun, and it had started with a ship built from scraps that had proven to be far more valuable than anyone had imagined.